It's time to talk about it. Oh, got some tissues just in case. You never know. Hello everyone, it's your girl Shelone. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have something that's deeply personal, but something important that I want to talk about. For a long time, I would say that, I've been taking breaks from YouTube, and, I've always kind of brushed the reasons under the rug, but I think it's time to talk about why I have taken the breaks that I did in the past. So let's get back to 2022. I know a lot of you may have noticed that in 2022 I was posting consistently. I took a break, I came back. I didn't post again for a couple months. I posted in December, and then I didn't post for quite some time. They weren't just me, taking a time off from things that I enjoyed. And a lot of you may know that, I've been doing YouTube for a long time. It's been a hobby of mine. I actually try my best to keep my channel small. I don't tell anyone in my personal life about my YouTube channel. I don't tell anyone about it. Whenever they do, they're like, girl, why are you keeping it a secret? It's just one of those things. That's besides the point. Let me try and keep on track here. But over the years, I have taken these breaks, and it's not just because, I needed some time off. They were due to personal struggles that I wasn't ready to discuss until now. So yeah, let's jump into it. So in this video, I'll put it here. I was actually so pregnant. I was out of breath the entire time. And like shortly after, I think I wanted to really go in on my experience moving to Canada. And I wanted to, I really had really great plans for the channel. And at the time I was pregnant, so it must have been something that was really important to me. I was really if I'm coming on saying that, hey, I'm gonna change the tune of the channel and go back to making coming to Canada videos, it was definitely something that I was really motivated to do, because in the height of my pregnancy, for me personally to be taking that on, it means it was something that was very important to me, and definitely something that I wanted to do. That being said, I didn't do the videos that I initially planned to do, and one of the reasons for that, I would say, is because I was dealing with a loss at the time. It's one of those losses that people don't talk about very often, because there's always some shame and self-loathing and questioning of self-worth, and that's pretty much the loss of a friendship. If you see me looking to the left here, I'm just trying to make sure that I stay on topic. But yeah, I won't go into the details of the person or the specifics of what happened, but I will say that losing a friend can feel like a part of you is missing, in a sense. I think it's a grief that, like I mentioned earlier, that is not often talked about, but I really do believe that it can be profound as mourning death. The loss, it hit me hard, and I felt at the time, I felt a deep sense of betrayal, abandonment, and it just triggered a cascade of negative emotions. And of course I was pregnant, of course. I believe at the time I was maybe 6 months pregnant. My due date was in April, so you could do the math there. And it left me with a battered self-worth, in a sense, and it really affected my ability to trust others. And every memory that you share with that person becomes a painful reminder of what you've lost. You know what I mean? Every memory you share with that person becomes this painful reminder of what you've lost. and it follows you around like a shadow, and it kind of makes you hard to move forward. Yeah, so that's what happened in a nutshell sometime around that time. And it was really difficult to deal with while pregnant. I believe if this had happened outside of my pregnancy, I would have been more emotionally equipped to deal with that. But I think because it happened while I was pregnant, while my hormones were already over the place, it then triggered anxiety, like severe anxiety, while I was pregnant. So yeah, that was pretty difficult. So it definitely triggered something there during the pregnancy. And of course, pregnancy is supposed to be a joyous time, but for me it was like overshadowed with like intense anxiety. I was constantly worried about my health, my baby's health, my ability to be a good parent, my ability to be a good wife, and the anxiety was relentless. It was relentless, and it was manifested in sleepless nights, racing thoughts, physical symptoms like pounding, heart rates, shortness of breath, all that stuff. And I was actually ordered to be put on bed rest at the time. I actually had the doctor's note, but because I had started a new job too, I felt really guilty about, you know, taking sick leave at the time. I think looking back, I definitely should have taken that sick leave, because I was just thinking the other day that, you know, I really should have taken the doctor mandated sick leave instead of using my vacation time, because now I am actually in need of a vacation and I don't have the vacation time because I used all of it to rest and to cope, because of what I was going through physically and emotionally. And I really should have just used my sick day, but that was like a afterthought moment. So yeah, I remember like it was besides the actual pain of like the sciatic pain and other things that you go through, I remember I would just like sleep throughout the day. And that's part of the reason why I felt so guilty too, because I wasn't able to do my job because the anxiety was so much. It was like draining. I wasn't able to sleep at nights, and I was sleeping at nights, but then I would just sleep through, like by 11 o'clock I was out. I mean 11 a.m. I was like out for the day. It was pretty interesting, to say the least. But yeah, I really, at the time, I will say I felt isolated. I felt isolated because I didn't really know how to relate to like what I was going through. It was such an interesting time in our life, because we actually signed the signed the purchase agreement to build our home while I was still pregnant with my daughter. And with everything going on, it was supposed to be like the happiest time, one of the happiest times in our life, well, in my life. And I was just drowning in fear and worry, and the pressure to appear happy and excited kind of like only made things worse, and added to like this guilt and self-doubt in a sense. I think that's the best way that I can explain it. But that's what was happening during that time, to like kind of just like give you guys like a like just to see the different parts that were moving during that time. So I think I made a couple vlogs because I was just trying to push through it. I mean, those were things I'd already planned, you know, we had already planned to do all of these things, and you know, but I just could not, I physically, mentally could not pick up the camera to record during that period. I was going through it during my pregnancy, and then after the pregnancy, you know, after I had the baby, of course that triggered my postpartum depression. And you know, I was like looking back, like I was just thinking about it, I'm so pissed because I was set up to have a really great pregnancy, and you know, because I knew what the symptoms were before. I knew, because this is something I had struggled with prior with my son. So I knew what were the triggers, I knew what the signs looked like, you know. But yeah, it triggered because it was so bad, guys. Like the pre-birth anxiety was so bad. I had to be put on medication while pregnant. It was really bad. And I can't imagine someone having to deal with that while pregnant. That's kind of crazy, because a close friend of mine just gave birth, you know, and she's dealing with something similar. But I didn't actually say it to her, but I'm so glad she actually got a chance to give birth before having to deal with this type of like loss, because it really has some serious side effects, or can have some serious side effects on your child, and yourself, of course, because mommy's health is more important in my opinion. Can't have babies unless mommy's healthy. But yeah, postpartum depression, guys, it's more than just baby blues. It's like a deep feeling of sadness, hopelessness, and just a disconnection. It was really bad. Like, there were some days I just didn't want to get out of bed. I mean, I felt it, but at the end of the day, my kids need me. So I don't think I've ever had those moments where like I had the thought, sorry, I have a cold, where I had the thought to like not get out of bed. I always made it out of bed, you know what I mean? But it was like, looking back, like everything just felt so much more than it was. Everything just felt heavy and this unshakable darkness, and it's like it really took a toll on some of my relationships and just my sense of self, because I remember I was like forming friendships at the time, and you know, I wouldn't say cut it off. Yeah, that's what I would say. I think that's the adult thing to do, and to say, admit that, you know, there's some people that, like, to be fair, a lot of the communication and that some of those relationships gave me in itself anxiety, where it just felt like, you know, because I'm that type of person, like, what you see is what you get. So just how helpful as I am online, I am even way more, 100 times more helpful in person. And I find that because I just have this natural humility and helpful spirit, I find that that attracts a lot of people that sometimes just leeches off of that energy. And I found it draining at one point, and for my mental health, I just had to step away from some relationships. I wouldn't say they were friendships, that's why I'm calling them relationships. They didn't get to that point of like, oh my god, you're my friend, oh my god, I love you. It was never like that. But if you're texting me and I get anxiety because I know the only reason why you're texting me is because you want something off me and you're not actually like checking on my well-being, it's like, yeah, no. This isn't a healthy relationship. And I need to start looking out for me. But those are some things that would happen, or some things that I guess took place maybe just before or after or during everything that was taking place. But yeah, so yeah, it was quite a struggle, and it's one of those weird losses. And the reason why I say it's so weird is because I think that there's kind of no closure. It's so weird because when someone passes on, you know, they're gone, you know, that's it. But I feel like when you lose someone that's a friend or that's close, or I feel like when you lose a friend, it's like, okay, this person is still alive, you know, and it's just a different experience, I would say. But I will say it's taken some time to heal and recover, and even so, like, it's a journey, you know what I mean? It's not a destination. I cannot say that I have arrived, you know, time to get up, get your luggage from the, you know, overhead bin compartment and head towards the exit. It's recovery's a journey, you know. So I had to learn to be kind to myself and recognize that healing takes time. I want to say it's been, because everything kind of kicked off, so I would say it's heading to 2 years now. It's heading to 2 years, and I started to prioritize self-care and setting boundaries. Oh my god, guys. Setting boundaries, and saying no when I needed to. And you know, it's so crazy because I really believe that part of the demise of the friendship came when I started to set some healthy boundaries. I was just in the process of setting the healthy boundaries, you know, and just saying no when I needed to, because I was always a yes person. Like, if I could do it, it was a yes. And it's unlearning some of those. I had to learn in my big age to say no. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. It really is kind of crazy when you think about it, that you have to, like me at 32, had to be learning to say no. But like I mentioned, you know, self-care, setting healthy boundaries and saying no when I needed to, was kind of how I really took charge of my recovery and my self-protection. Therapy was a crucial part of my recovery. I did do some therapy, but I found that it wasn't as, I didn't find it as useful as, well, to be fair, I wasn't as consistent. But I think one of the reasons why therapy wasn't successful for me is because I need to dig deeper. Excuse me. I need to go back into my childhood because there's some unresolved trauma there. And yeah, I find that, you know, talking about that situation, it was kind of like, okay, I need to go deeper, and I just wasn't I didn't want to go that far, and I wasn't prepared mentally to go that far. But I will at some point take back therapy to deal with all that childhood trauma, you know, that you stored like section 13 and you hope to never revisit. So since the last 2 years, I've been extra protective, or more protective, I would say, of my mental health, and just trying to avoid toxic situations and people. I've learned to listen to my body and my mind, and taking breaks when I need to, and just practicing mindfulness and to stay grounded. This little mindfulness app on this health watch is pretty useful too, I find. But You know, I think it's about finding a balance for sure, and just being okay with not being okay sometimes. I think we need to like normalize that as well. Like, it's, you find that balance and being okay with not being okay. And I had to come to terms with that. Like, you know, it's, I don't have to be happy. This was a shitty situation. People are shitty, or people that you think are great can be shitty. You know, it can exist. You can be a good person but also be terrible. You know, you don't have to put your entire self-worth into how someone else treats you. You know, those are the type of things like I had to like learn. And that was my takeaway, that I should not assume other people's issues as well. Sometimes people may be going through some things and they project that onto you, so that's something too. And you never know how people perceive you, like truly perceive you. And I think Oprah made a post the other day where she said that if someone is just a little bit jealous of you, then that friendship won't and can't work. So who knows? I'm not saying that's what it is, but who knows? In addition to that, I will say that leaning on God has been tremendously helpful as well. You know, if it wasn't for his grace, yeah, save the best for last, I know. If it wasn't for his grace, I would not be here, I will say. He's been really great to me and my family. And despite that period, like, he just instantly just lifted us up. He lifted us up in ways that I didn't quite think we were ready for yet. But he really lifted us up. And it almost felt like everything that happened was through the divine power of God. I really think that the loss that we experienced needed to happen. Like, it needed to happen. I really believe to this day, as I sit before you, that it needed to happen. I needed to lose that friendship, because where God has taken me, like 2 years after that, I know I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be where I am. We probably wouldn't even be in this house, if I'm being honest with you, had we still been in that mental state before. So that was kind of like our learning lesson as well, that, you know, God doesn't, whatever God puts you through, always walk away with a lesson. Always walk away through something. He's not leading you through the wilderness to suffer just for suffer's sake. You know, just to say, I'm gonna make my children suffer. He's not putting you through that for you to come out burnt. He's not leading you through the fire to come out burnt. But you just have to trust him. We interrupt the regular broadcast because we need a session to wipe tears, because we will not fall into the statistic of YouTubers crying on YouTube. But anyways, I am cleaning up my tears here, and we'll be going back to regular programming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I try to like make sure that everything I talk about, I always just try to like, okay, all road lead back to Christ at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it leads back to Christ, you know? And that's kind of like what my takeaway was, you know what I mean? It wasn't what I wanted, but it was what I needed. You know what I mean? But I will say, like, there's the key takeaways. Seek professional help. Self-care practices as well should be taken into consideration. You know, exercise. Make sure you're eating healthy and get enough sleep. Drink your water. Them simple little something here can make a huge difference. And ensure you have a support system Even though both me and my husband were going through it, I would say both of us were our support system. We kind of leaned on the other friendships that we had as well, I will say. And just remember to be mindful, practice mindfulness, I will say. Relax your mind. There should be days when you just like do nothing. Don't be in a constant state of being busy. Don't be in a constant state of like moving. Take some time to sit still, let your heart be still, and just and have open communication. I would say open communication is very important. Talk about your feelings with someone you trust. For me, that was my husband, and for him it was me. It's important to express what you're going through, instead of like keeping it bottled up. So yeah, it's been a healing journey, as I mentioned. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to my story. It wasn't an easy one to share. It was easy for me, but yeah, at the same time it wasn't easy. But I really hope that by opening up, it can help someone who might be going through something similar. Just remember that you're not alone. I know sometimes it may feel that way, that you know, this is just happening to me and only me, so I just wanted to share. And it's okay to ask for help. You're not alone. And you know, let's just keep this conversation going in the comments below. Share your experiences, your thoughts or advice you have for other people that may be struggling, and you know, together we can support each other through tough times. I strongly believe that. Yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.